Every level of X-Men explained. Level 1, Mutation Misfires. Let's start at the bottom with the X-Men who drew the short straw in the mutant power lottery. These are the heroes whose abilities make you wonder if the X gene was having an off day. Jubilee is the poster child for this tier. Jubilation Lee shoots fireworks from her hands. That's it. Sparkly, colorful explosions that are basically fancy firecrackers. Now, don't get me wrong, Jubilee has heart, attitude, and she's been a loyal X-Man for years. But when your power is makes pretty lights, and you're standing next to people who can control the weather or read minds, you're basically the team mascot. The writers have tried to upgrade her over the years, claiming her plasmoids could theoretically detonate at a molecular level and cause nuclear-level explosions, but she never actually does that because of mental blocks. So, in practice, she's shooting sparklers while fighting sentinels. Her biggest contribution to most missions is being the distraction or the moral support. She's enthusiastic, she's brave, but let's be real. Fireworks aren't winning fights against Brotherhood members or sentinels. Beak might be even worse off. Barnell Bohusk looks like a human-chicken hybrid with the face only a mother could love. His powers? He can kind of fly, if you count awkward gliding. He's got hollow bones like a bird, which makes him fragile as glass. And he has enhanced vision and reflexes, which sounds cool until you realize he's still just a guy who looks like a chicken and can barely get off the ground. Beak represents every mutant who manifested and immediately thought, seriously, this is what I got? He's tried his best, joined various X teams, and proven he's got courage, but courage doesn't change the fact that his mutation is basically a cruel joke. In a fight against anyone serious, Beak goes down fast and hard. He's been beaten up more times than we can count, and his main role is usually scared student who needs saving. Cypher, also known as Elisa Tugger, has the power to understand and translate any language, including computer code. Now, that's actually useful for intelligence work, decryption, and communication. The problem? That's all she can do. No enhanced durability, no combat abilities, no defensive powers. She's a normal human who happens to be really good at languages. In the field, she's a liability. She can't protect herself, can't fight back, and needs constant protection from her teammates. She's basically the person who stays at the computer while everyone else goes on the mission. Useful in very specific circumstances. Completely helpless in 90% of X-Men situations. When Sentinels attack the mansion, Cypher is hiding in a closet hoping someone remembers to save her. These three represent the harsh reality of mutation. Not everyone gets to be Wolverine or Storm. Some people get sparklers, chicken features, and the ability to ask for directions in Kree. They're X-Men because they're mutants, and they're trying their best, but let's not pretend they're winning any fights. They're the benchwarmer squad, the people who make everyone else on the team look good by comparison. Level 2. Street-level scramblers. Now we're talking about mutants who have actual combat-applicable powers, but they're still operating at street level. These are your alley fighters, your back-alley brawlers, who can handle regular humans and low-tier threats, but get wrecked by anyone serious. Toad has been around forever as a member of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and his power set is exactly what it sounds like. He's a human Toad. Mortimer Toynbee can jump incredible distances, has a super long prehensile tongue, secretes paralyzing resin from his skin, and has enhanced agility. In a fight against normal humans or street-level heroes, Toad is actually pretty formidable. He's unpredictable, hard to hit, and that tongue can snatch weapons or wrap around throats from 20 feet away. The paralytic mucus he secretes means if he touches you, you're going down. But here's the thing. Put Toad against anyone with real power, and he's done. He's been knocked out by Wolverine more times than anyone can count. Storm can just blast him with wind. Any telekinetic can pin him to a wall. He's dangerous to normal people, a joke to actual X-Men level threats. Marrow is significantly more dangerous, but still limited. Sarah has bones that grow continuously through her skin, and she can rip them out to use as weapons. Knives, spears, clubs, whatever she needs. It's grotesque, painful, and incredibly effective in close combat. She's essentially a walking armory who regenerates her weapons. Marrow's fought alongside and against the X-Men, and she's proven she can hold her own in a street fight. The bone protrusions also give her natural armor, making her harder to hurt than a normal person, but her powers are purely physical and close range. She's got no defense against energy attacks, telepathy, or anyone who can fight from a distance. Cyclops can blast her before she gets close. Jean Grey can shut her brain off. She's tough, she's brutal, but she's got a ceiling on how effective she can be. Maggot has one of the weirdest powers in X-Men history, and that's saying something. Japheth has two large metallic slugs named Eenie and Meanie that live in his digestive tract. He can release them, and they consume anything, organic matter, metal, energy, then return to his body, giving him their strength and the properties of what they ate. If they eat metal, Maggot becomes incredibly strong and durable. If they eat enough, he becomes temporarily superhuman. It's bizarre, it's unsettling, and it's actually pretty versatile. And the problem? He's completely dependent on those slugs. Without them, he's powerless and dying. With them, he's only as strong as what they've recently consumed. And the slugs themselves can be captured, killed, or driven away, leaving Maggot helpless. He's a one-trick pony with a really weird trick. Useful in specific situations, but nowhere near top tier. These three can handle themselves in a fight against regular threats. They're not hiding in closets when danger comes, but put them against Apocalypse, against Sentinels, against the real threats the X-Men face, they're outclassed immediately. They're street-level heroes in a cosmic-level team, and that's why they're at level 2. Level 3, combat capable. Now we're getting into X-Men who are legitimate threats in combat. These are the heavy hitters who can go toe-to-toe with serious opponents and actually win. They're not unbeatable, but they're dangerous. Psylocke is a fascinating case because she's had so many different power sets over the years, but let's focus on her most iconic version. Betsy Braddock is a telepath who can create psychic weapons, most notably her signature psychic knife that she can plunge into someone's brain to knock them out instantly or kill them. She's also a master martial artist trained as a ninja assassin. The combination of telepathy and hand-to-hand combat expertise makes her incredibly dangerous. She can read your moves before you make them, predict your strategy, and then shut your brain off with a thought. Her telekinetic katana can cut through almost anything, including energy fields and force fields. In a one-on-one fight, Psylocke beats most opponents through sheer skill and tactical use of her powers. But she's not invincible, overwhelming her senses. Attacking faster than she can react or hitting her with raw power can take her down. She's been beaten by heavy hitters like Sabretooth and overwhelmed by multiple opponents. She's elite, but she's got limits. Bishop is a powerhouse with one of the most useful abilities in the X-Men roster: energy absorption and redirection. Lucas Bishop absorbs any energy directed at him: kinetic, thermal, electrical, even magical, stores it in his body, and redirects it as plasma blasts. The more you hit him, the stronger he gets. Fighting Bishop with energy attacks is suicide. You're literally powering him up. He's taken blasts from Cyclops and fired them back twice as strong. He's absorbed explosions and redirected the energy to level buildings. His future training and combat experience make him a tactical fighter who knows how to use his powers effectively. The limitation? There's a cap to how much he can store before it becomes dangerous for him, and purely physical attacks bypass his absorption. Wolverine can still claw him. Colossus can still punch him. But against energy-based opponents, Bishop is nearly unbeatable. He's a hard counter to some of the most powerful mutants and a solid fighter against everyone else. Warpath is what happens when you take super strength, super speed, super senses, and near invulnerability and package it in a trained warrior. James Proudstar is one of the strongest X-Men physically. He can lift over 100 tons, run at superhuman speeds, and his senses are sharp enough to track people across miles. He's got enhanced durability that lets him take hits from the Hulk and keep fighting. His Native American mystical training gives him additional abilities like flight and spiritual weaponry. Warpath is basically a more versatile Colossus, stronger than most, faster than most, and skilled enough to use those physical gifts effectively. He's beaten down Sentinels, fought Apocalypse's horsemen, and held his own against cosmic-level threats. The problem? He's still primarily a physical fighter. Telepaths can shut him down. Reality warpers can make his strength irrelevant. He's incredibly dangerous to anything he can punch, but vulnerable to threats that don't require punching to defeat. These three represent the X-Men's frontline fighters. They're who you send into serious combat situations because you know they can handle it. They've got the power, the training, and the experience to face down major threats and win more often than they lose. But they're not the top tier yet. There are mutants who make even these powerhouses look ordinary. Level 4, Omega Potential. Here's where we hit the X-Men who are holding back. These three have Omega-level potential, but either don't realize it, can't control it, or actively limit themselves. They're incredibly powerful when they cut loose, but they rarely operate at their peak. Iceman is the most frustrating member of this tier because he's technically one of the most powerful mutants alive and doesn't act like it. Bobby Drake is an Omega-level mutant who can control moisture and temperature on a molecular level. At his peak, he's turned his entire body into ice that can reform even if shattered, created armies of ice clones, frozen entire lakes instantly, and achieved temperatures approaching absolute zero. He's created ice constructs miles high, frozen people from the inside by controlling the water in their bodies, and even stopped time by freezing all molecular motion in an area. When writers remember how powerful Iceman actually is, he becomes a reality-warping threat. The problem? Bobby doesn't believe in himself. He lacks confidence, uses his powers defensively rather than offensively, and has massive psychological blocks preventing him from accessing his full potential. Most of the time, he's making ice slides and throwing snowballs when he should be freezing opponents at the molecular level. It's like watching someone with a nuclear weapon use it as a flashlight. The potential is there, but the execution is inconsistent. Rogue has one of the most powerful abilities in comics, power absorption through touch. Anna Marie can absorb memories, life force, and superhuman abilities from anyone she touches. The longer the contact, the more permanent the absorption. She's stolen powers from Ms. Marvel permanently, giving her super strength, flight, and invulnerability. She's temporarily copied abilities from dozens of X-Men, simultaneously becoming a one-woman army. At her peak, Rogue can fly at supersonic speeds, punch through steel, and has the combined experience and skills of everyone she's ever touched. She's beaten down the Avengers, fought Apocalypse, and held her own against cosmic-level threats. But her power is also her weakness. She can't control it. Physical contact with anyone means absorbing them, which has left her psychologically damaged and terrified of human connection. She wears full body coverage to prevent accidental contact. Her fear of hurting people limits how she fights, and the psychological trauma from absorbing so many minds has left her unstable. When Rogue cuts loose and stops worrying about the consequences, she's unstoppable. But she rarely allows herself to operate at that level. Colossus transforms his entire body into organic steel, giving him superhuman strength and near invulnerability. Piotr Rasputin can lift over 100 tons in his armored form, has shrugged off attacks that would kill normal mutants, and his metal form makes him immune to most physical damage. He's fought the Hulk, taken hits from Juggernaut, and served as the X-Men's tank for decades. His combination of raw power and defensive capability makes him one of the most reliable X-Men in a fight. But Colossus is held back by his gentle nature and moral code. He's a pacifist at heart who became a warrior out of necessity. He pulls his punches, hesitates to use lethal force, and his compassion makes him vulnerable to psychological attacks. He's also limited to close-range combat. He can't fly, has no ranged attacks, and fast opponents can avoid him entirely. When Colossus stops holding back, like when he became Juggernaut's avatar, he's an apocalyptic-level threat. But normally, he's a powerful fighter who could be so much more. These three represent unrealized potential. They're all capable of being top-tier threats, but psychological blocks, moral codes, or lack of confidence keep them from reaching their ceiling. They're powerful, they're dangerous, but they're not operating at the level they could be. That's what keeps them at level 4. Level 5 Elite Warriors. These are the X-Men who punch way above their weight class through pure skill, experience, and tactical use of their abilities. They're not the most powerful mutants on the team, but they're often the most dangerous in a fight. Wolverine is the most famous X-Man for a reason. Logan's healing factor makes him nearly impossible to kill. He's regenerated from being burned down to his skeleton, survived nuclear blasts, and shrugged off injuries that would kill anyone else. The adamantium skeleton and claws make him an unstoppable close combat fighter who can cut through almost anything. But what really makes Wolverine dangerous is his centuries of combat experience, military training, and absolutely ruthless fighting style. He's a master of every martial art, an expert tracker, and speaks dozens of languages. Wolverine doesn't just fight, he hunts. He analyzes his opponents, finds their weaknesses, and exploits them with surgical precision. He's beaten opponents far more powerful than himself through sheer tactical superiority and willingness to do whatever it takes to win. His healing factor means he can take risks other fighters can't, absorbing damage that would kill teammates to land a killing blow. The limitation? He's still operating in the physical realm. Telepaths can shut him down. Reality warpers can negate his healing, and sufficient force can still overwhelm him. But in a straight fight against most opponents, Wolverine wins through experience, skill, and refusing to stay down. Cyclops is the definition of how discipline and tactical mastery elevate a straightforward power into something elite. Scott Summers' optic blasts are pure concussive force, constantly firing from his eyes and only held back by his ruby quartz visor. These beams can punch holes through steel, obliterate sentinels, and he's got such fine control that he can ricochet them off multiple surfaces to hit targets behind cover. But what separates Cyclops from other energy projectors is his tactical genius. He's the field leader of the X-Men, the strategist who coordinates entire teams mid-battle while engaging threats himself. Scott doesn't just fire blasts, he calculates trajectories, predicts enemy movements, and turns the environment into a weapon through precision ricochets. He's fought gods, led the X-Men through apocalyptic scenarios, and proven that tactical superiority beats raw power. His geometric understanding of combat means he can hit targets he can't see by bouncing blasts through complex angles. The limitation? He's operating purely in the physical realm. Telepaths can shut him down, reality warpers make his blasts irrelevant, and he needs his vision to be effective. But in a straight fight where tactics matter, Cyclops punches way above his weight class. He's not the most powerful X-Man, but he's often the most dangerous because he never wastes a shot and never stops thinking 3 moves ahead. Nightcrawler is one of the most underestimated X-Men because his power seems simple. He teleports. But Kurt Wagner has turned teleportation into an art form that makes him nearly untouchable in combat. He can teleport multiple times per second, can take people with him, and his time in the Brimstone dimension during each teleport gives him split-second immunity to attacks. In a fight, Nightcrawler is a nightmare opponent. He appears behind you, delivers a strike, and vanishes before you can counter. He can teleport you into walls, drop you from lethal heights, or simply disorient you by constantly changing position. His acrobatic skills and sword training make him deadly even without powers. Nightcrawler has taken down opponents far stronger than himself by simply being impossible to hit and striking from unexpected angles. The limitation is range. He can only teleport about 2 miles at a time and needs to see or know where he's going. Excessive teleporting also exhausts him, but within those limits, Nightcrawler is one of the most dangerous X-Men in close-quarters combat. He's beaten Wolverine in sparring, infiltrated impenetrable fortresses, and rescued hostages from impossible situations. His combination of mobility, combat skill, and tactical thinking makes him elite. Gambit might have the most versatile offensive power in the X-Men. Remy LeBeau can charge any object with kinetic energy that explodes on contact. His signature playing cards become deadly projectiles, but he can charge anything. Pieces of debris become grenades, a staff becomes an energy weapon. Even charging the ground beneath someone can blow them off their feet. The bigger the object, the bigger the explosion. He's charged entire buildings to bring them down. His Cajun charm hides the fact that he's a master thief, expert hand-to-hand combatant, and tactical genius. Gambit's also got low-level hypnotic charm abilities that make people more susceptible to his suggestions. In combat, he's unpredictable and devastating. You never know what he's going to charge next or how big the explosion will be. He's beaten down Sentinels, fought the Avengers, and held his own against cosmic-level threats. The limitation? His power requires physical objects to charge, and using it too much causes massive headaches and energy drain. He's also been known to hold back his full potential, because at his peak power, he could theoretically charge the kinetic energy in someone's body and make them explode from the inside. That's too dark even for Gambit, so he limits himself. But even at his normal power level, Gambit is a devastating fighter who combines ranged attacks, close combat, and tactical brilliance. These 3 are the X-Men's Special Forces unit. They're who you send when the mission requires surgical precision, when you need someone who can adapt to any situation and find a way to win. They're not the most powerful, but they're often the most effective. They're elite warriors who've proven time and again that skill and experience can overcome raw power. Level 6, Reality Shapers. Now we're in the territory of X-Men who don't just fight enemies, they reshape the battlefield itself. These 3 operate at a level where conventional combat becomes almost irrelevant because they can manipulate fundamental forces. Scarlet Witch technically isn't always an X-Man, but Wanda Maximoff is a mutant whose power is reality manipulation through probability and chaos magic. At her base level, she causes unlikely things to happen. Guns jam, structures collapse at perfect moments, enemies trip over nothing. But when Wanda cuts loose, she's rewriting reality on a massive scale. She's erased mutants from existence with 3 words, no more mutants, affecting the entire planet. She's created alternate realities like House of M where she reshaped the entire world to her vision. She's brought people back from the dead, transmuted matter, and warped probability so thoroughly that she made the impossible routine. The Avengers and X-Men both fear her at full power because there's no defense against someone who can simply decide you don't exist anymore. The limitation is her mental instability. Wanda's powers are tied to her emotional state, and trauma has repeatedly caused her to lose control with catastrophic results. When she's stable and trained, she's one of the most powerful beings on Earth. When she's unstable, she's a threat to all existence. Jean Grey without the Phoenix Force is already one of the most powerful telepaths and telekinetics alive. Jean can read minds across vast distances, create illusions so real they're indistinguishable from reality, and possess other bodies. Her telekinesis lets her move objects with her mind when eyes. And by objects, I mean she's lifted buildings, held together crumbling structures, and created force fields that withstand nuclear blasts. The combination makes her incredibly versatile. She can attack physically and mentally simultaneously, defend herself against almost any attack, and coordinate entire teams through psychic links. Jean's also one of the few telepaths with enough power and skill to engage other Omega-level telepaths like Professor X or Emma Frost and win. She's saved the world multiple times, led the X-Men, and proven herself one of the most capable heroes in Marvel. But her connection to the Phoenix Force is both her greatest strength and biggest weakness. It grants her cosmic power, but also threatens to consume her and everyone around her. Even without Phoenix, Jean is top tier. With it, she becomes something else entirely. Storm is an Omega-level mutant who controls weather on a planetary scale. Aurora Monroe can summon hurricanes, create blizzards, call down lightning with pinpoint accuracy, generate tornadoes, and manipulate atmospheric pressure to create or dispel any weather phenomenon. She's created localized storms, generated fog banks for cover, and even controlled the weather in space by manipulating solar winds. But Storm isn't just powerful, she's tactical. She uses her powers creatively, combining effects for maximum impact. She'll create a lightning storm while generating winds that prevent enemies from dodging. She'll drop the temperature to freeze opponents, then superheat the air to shatter them. She's got total control over the battlefield environment, which makes her nearly unbeatable in open terrain. Her weather manipulation also gives her flight, protection from temperature extremes, and the ability to sense atmospheric changes across vast distances. The limitation is scale and concentration. Creating massive storms requires time and focus, and maintaining them drains her. She's also vulnerable when caught off guard before she can react. But when Storm has time to work, she's reshaping entire regions and controlling forces that can devastate armies. These three operate at a level where they're not fighting threats. They're eliminating them by making the very concept of fighting irrelevant. They reshape reality, control minds, and command nature itself. They're the X-Men's nuclear option, the heroes you call when conventional solutions have failed. They're not quite at the absolute top, but they're close enough that the difference barely matters in most situations. Level 7. Omega-class gods. We've reached the top of the X-Men power hierarchy, the mutants who operate at such a level that they're essentially gods. These three don't participate in fights because calling it a fight implies both sides have a chance. Professor Xavier is the most powerful telepath on Earth, and that's not hyperbole. Charles Xavier can locate any mutant on the planet using Cerebro, can read and control the minds of thousands simultaneously, and has the ability to completely shut down someone's consciousness with a thought. He's created psychic illusions so complete that people lived entire alternate lives in their minds while seconds passed in reality. He's made entire armies forget what they were doing, has hidden memories so deep that even other telepaths couldn't find them, and once held a psychic conversation with every mind on Earth at the same time. Xavier's telepathy is so powerful that he's considered a constant threat even by other heroes. If he wanted to, he could mentally dominate anyone except the few with sufficient psychic defenses. He's defeated the Shadow King in psychic combat, held off the Brood's collective consciousness, and matched minds with cosmic entities. The only things that limit Xavier are his morality and his paralysis. He won't use his full power except in the most dire circumstances, because he respects free will and human dignity. But make no mistake, if Charles Xavier decided to take over the world, he could do it in an afternoon by simply commanding everyone to obey. He's chosen not to be a tyrant, but he has the power to be an unstoppable one. Magneto is the master of magnetism, and that title doesn't begin to cover what Eric Lenscher can do. Magneto controls all magnetic fields, which means he controls any metal, can manipulate electromagnetic radiation, and at his peak can affect the iron in people's blood. He's ripped the adamantium out of Wolverine's skeleton, pulled satellites from orbit, lifted entire cities, created electromagnetic pulses that shut down all technology across continents and generated magnetic fields strong enough to protect himself from nuclear weapons. He can fly by manipulating the Earth's magnetic field, create force fields that deflect almost any attack, and sense magnetic signatures across vast distances. Magneto has fought the entire X-Men team alone and won, held his own against Apocalypse, and threatened the entire world with magnetic pole reversal that would cause global extinction. But Magneto's real power is that he's right on the edge of being able to affect fundamental forces. He's manipulated light, created wormholes through space, and even affected people's bioelectric fields to control their nervous systems. The only limitation is that purely non-metallic attacks can bypass his defenses, and his advanced age means he can't maintain peak output indefinitely. But in his prime, Magneto is an extinction-level threat who can reshape continents and kill millions with a gesture. Franklin Richards is technically not an X-Man most of the time, but he's a mutant. He's the son of Reed and Sue Richards, and he's literally one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe. Franklin is a beyond Omega-level reality warper who has created pocket universes, brought people back from the dead, made Galactus his herald, and at his peak helped recreate the entire multiverse after it was destroyed. We're talking about a kid who can casually rewrite the laws of physics, create or destroy galaxies, and exist outside of normal reality to observe the death and rebirth of all existence. Franklin once saved the heroes during Onslaught by creating an entire pocket universe in a blue ball. He's resurrected dead heroes, created new timelines, and fought Celestials, literal space gods, and won. The scary part? Franklin is usually limited by his age and understanding. He's a kid who doesn't fully comprehend his own power, and his parents actively work to keep him in check because they know how dangerous he could be. But even limited, Franklin has casually done things that Omega-level mutants struggle to accomplish. When he grows up and gains full access to his abilities, he'll be essentially omnipotent. Even now, he's a reality-warping powerhouse who operates on a cosmic scale that makes other mutants look like children playing with toys. These three represent the absolute ceiling of mutant power. They're not just powerful, they're fundamental forces that can reshape reality, control minds globally, and threaten all existence if they chose to. They're the reason humanity fears mutants. The evidence that evolution could produce beings so far beyond human that we're literally different species. They're gods who've chosen to be heroes, and that choice is the only thing keeping them from ruling or destroying everything. When Professor X, Magneto, and Franklin Richards are in play, the stakes aren't who wins this fight. The stakes are how much damage gets done before someone stops them. They're not participating in the story. They are the story, and that's the 7 levels of X-Men. From Mutation misfires who got stuck with fireworks and chicken features, all the way up to Omega-class gods who can rewrite reality, control the world's minds, and threaten all existence with a thought. The X-Men's power hierarchy shows us the incredible range of what mutation can produce, from barely useful abilities that make life harder, to physical fighters who excel through skill and determination, to reality warpers who operate on a cosmic scale. Every level has its place. The lower-tier mutants prove that being a hero isn't about power. It's about courage and doing what's right even when you're outmatched. The mid-tier fighters show that skill and tactics can overcome raw power. And the top-tier gods demonstrate the terrifying potential of mutation, taken to its absolute limit. From Jubilee's sparklers to Franklin Richards creating universes, that's the spectrum of X-Men power. From street-level scramblers to Omega-class gods, from proving yourself with whatever you've got to literally reshaping existence itself. That's what makes the X-Men fascinating. They're not just a team. They're a demonstration of evolution's infinite possibilities, from the mundane to the divine. And every single one of them, from level 1 to level 7, is fighting for the same thing, a world where mutants and humans can coexist. That's the X-Men, that's the dream, and that's why we love them.